So I did some research on how to attend federal criminal court hearings virtually, and I'm going to share what I found. I'm waiting to have some solid answers on the process, but I'm determined to figure it out before Luke Wenke's next court hearing, which is scheduled for January 30th at 3 p.m. It's going to be a status conference. Luke is not required to be there. I don't know if he will be there. I believe he has the right to be there if he wants to be. So there's no predicting whether he will be there or not. I could picture him insisting on it. I could picture him not giving a shit. Anyways, his case is in a bit of a jurisdictional limbo because Winky is in the Monroe County Jail in Rochester. I believe that's where he attends his hearings. It's part of the Western District of New York State. But the judge overseeing the case, from what I can tell, is located in the Northern District of New York, which I believe encompasses the Syracuse area. I'm therefore not sure which courthouse or even district I'm supposed to contact to get the information to attend virtually. So I'm going to reach out to all of them. I have, 10, 11 days to figure it out. So that should be enough time. But here's what I found. Let's start with the Northern District because I feel like it's not going to be this one, but who knows? The Northern District is the area that I think encompasses Syracuse. I believe that's where Luke's judge is based, unless he's moved. I don't know. This is a website where I found him. Mitchell Katz is his name. This would actually be easier than what I'm about to show you because, as you can see, if you want to attend a hearing virtually, you send an email to this address right here, no later than 180 minutes, 3 hours prior to the beginning of the proceeding. And you provide the case name, the case number, date and time of the proceeding, phone number, email address, if different from the one you're requesting from. So if you need this information, the case number is right here. This is the number of the case, I believe. That's all you need. Should be all you need. They should know what to do with it. And it's USA versus Luke Wenke. The date and time of the proceeding, like I said, it's January 30th at 3 p.m. And obviously you could take care of the rest. The court does not provide remote access to any court proceeding that is held in person in the courthouse. But Winky's proceeding will be held virtually, from my understanding. I guess we can double check right now. The conference will proceed by Teams video conference. So, from what I can tell, members of the public should be able to remotely attend this. And I think that if you feel safe doing it, you should. I highly encourage anyone who's willing to or interested in doing it to send that email to that email address in case in case that's the courthouse you're supposed to go through. I can let you know more about that in a couple days, probably. I called the Buffalo courthouse today. They were closed at 2:30, I'm guessing because of the weather. I left a message and I explained I don't know which courthouse, which district. Here's my number, here's the case. Please call me back and let me know. I can definitely share that information. I am not going to hold my breath while I wait for them to call me back, but I will keep calling if they don't, because as a member of the public, I believe I have a right to attend these hearings. Not to mention, my name gets brought up a lot in this case, and yet they won't even give me a PACER fee exemption. I think that's crazy. So, at the very least, I think they should let me attend the hearing. They should let anyone attend who wants to go to it. So, where was I? Yeah, as things currently stand, it's going to happen before Mitchell J. Katz. It doesn't say where members of the public should reach out to, though. So, I guess only thing we can do is find out. So, that's for the Northern District. This is the Western District. So this encompasses Buffalo and Rochester. I called the Buffalo courthouse. I probably should have just called Rochester. I'm guessing that's probably the right one to call. But hopefully someone from the Buffalo courthouse will call me back and guide me in the right direction. Maybe they'll be feeling nice. Otherwise, I'll just keep calling both places. And for the Western District, which I believe is both Buffalo and Rochester, this is all I could find about remote hearings. And this looks/sounds like it was created during the COVID pandemic 6 years ago. So I don't know how up to date it is. I know that the phone numbers right here are current, and I'm not seeing any other information for the process of attending a virtual hearing should it be going through the Western District. So I'm guessing this is what you got to do. And you can read these instructions. It looks like you have to call. None of these judges are assigned to Winky's case. So I just called the Buffalo number. I'll get back to you. But I think that one of the reasons that Winky's case is being handled outside of Buffalo, not only because he's being detained outside Buffalo, because he's been to a lot of jails. I think the reason for that is because his victim is a judge in the Buffalo courthouse. And I think it's probably a conflict of interest type of situation. So I don't even know what to think if it's going to be through here, through there, but I'll know soon enough. But I do think that if you're willing to, you should attend. I don't know how these things go. I don't know if like Winky will be able to look at a screen and see who's attending. I have no idea. I've never done this, but I think if people actually show up and just take that time and go through that effort, it will speak. Because if no one's showing up for Luke Winky's hearings, and I never did during his last case because they were all held in person, and I felt like it would be too much of a treat for him if I walked into the courtroom because he was dying to see me so badly that he had his lawyer file a motion trying to force me to testify during a probation violation hearing. And these hearings are not formal. It's not the type of, it's not a criminal trial. It's not a super formal proceeding. He tried forcing me, his Minnesota victim, and a victim in North Carolina to be forced to travel to Buffalo and testify. It's just ridiculous. Thankfully, the judge said no, but after seeing those documents, I decided that my presence in a courtroom would be too much of a treat for him, at least in person. But I think if enough people attend his hearing virtually, and let's assume that he somehow knows who's there, or that a lot of people are there, I think it sends a good message. People are not going to sit and let him ruin their lives anymore. This has been going on his entire adult life, and from my understanding, although I could be wrong, since his childhood, even, or his teens, his adolescence, if you will. There are people ever since starting this website, and I'm not going to give away too many details because I don't want to compromise anyone's privacy and I want people to feel like they can trust me. There are so many people whose lives have been put on hold, turned upside down, all but ruined. There are people with trauma because of Luke Winke. I have PTSD because of him. He mentally changed me in ways that I'm struggling to deprogram from. I fled the country to get away from him. I fled the country and stayed in a bad pretty bad relationship. Stay away from him. I'm thinking of leaving the country again to get away from him because I have very little confidence in the authorities at this point that he'll do any substantial time for this current case. That leads me to the next thing I wanted to show you because I don't know if I've posted it. I know it's probably in my group, but if you haven't looked at this document for this case, again, if you need the case number for that email to send to the court, that's it. I don't know if you need the MJK at the end. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. I think they could probably figure it out because see, it's not right here. But this is an interesting document. I recommend taking a peek at it. It's pretty damning if you look at it. It looks like pretrial services did not interview the defendant who made his initial court appearance on December 17th. Government moved for detention, so, they said remand him because the defendant is charged with a crime of violence. I believe it's cyberstalking again, the same charge he faced 4 years ago, or an offense listed, blah, blah, blah. I don't know if this means that he could face 10 years if he's convicted. I hope it does. But even in that case, I really highly doubt that he's going to do that much time or even anything close to it because all they seem to do is wipe his ass, treat him like a Fabergé egg. Like, I almost feel at times like they're treating him like he's the victim, the one that needs protecting because he's mentally ill. But what people don't realize, and I had this talk with someone recently, there are people who see it and people who don't. Yes, Luke Winke is clearly mentally ill. I don't think anyone's contesting that. But some people think he's so mentally ill that he doesn't understand right from wrong, and he's just completely detached from reality. He's not really lucid, he's not cognizant, and his behavior is not necessarily premeditated or intentional or deliberate. But there are other people who will argue he's crazy, but he's more evil than ill, and he knows exactly what he's doing. I'm in that camp because One, he was found competent. He was found capable of assisting in his defense. For that reason, when they forcibly institutionalized him, they were not able to forcibly medicate him. Well, can he really be that sick then? I think that there is no way for him to live a prosperous, happy, functional life in the free world. But I think that there are people in this world who just can't be saved, can't be fixed. He's not willing. He knows the work he would need to do to get his life straightened out. He could have started doing it years ago. He could have, at any point along this journey, he could have stopped and just left people alone, focused on what he needs to do. I believe he had a job during his 2 whole months out of prison before his most recent arrest. He didn't seem to like this job, but he clearly is capable of working. When he was released from prison in 2023, and he was in and out of jail a lot on probation violation charges, he didn't really seem to work much during that time. But I know he was, I think, doing some food delivery, like door dashing. I don't think he was able to do rideshare because I believe he got canned from those apps, probably with good reason. But I felt during that time, which was from like late March of 2023 until early October of that year, minus 2 months he spent in jail in from like June to August, I want to say. Well, late June to early August, like a month and a half, not quite. I felt like the reason Luke Winke didn't find gainful employment, or didn't seem to, not that I really knew, but I mean, he was online constantly. I don't see how anyone would have had the time to do anything other than sit and shitpost when they post at a rate that rapidly. I felt like a certain person, and I'm sure you can guess who, uh, his enabler, his biggest enabler, was facilitating his crimes by financially making it possible for him to forego working for the most part. Yeah, he was dirt broke and he was complaining about how he was destitute, but at the end of the day, he was still eating. He was still getting to his court mandated therapy, which he made a total joke out of. And yet they still continued to think they could cure him and heal him and sing kumbaya and it'll all be all right. And like, I pray to God this court doesn't take such a naive approach. Like, by now, they've got to be realizing, well, I'm not going to hold my breath, that you got to accept some people are going to spend their life in and out of the system until they do something serious enough to just end up in it. And I think that's what we're looking at here. And I pray that it happens before he kills me. I am convinced that if they don't get a grip on the gravity of Luke Winke's crimes and behavior and how dangerous he truly is, I could end up dead. I'm hoping I'm out of here by the time he regains his freedom. But even then, when I was overseas last year for, almost half a year, it was always in the back of my mind as his release date loomed. He's going to go to my family's house looking for me. What if he does something to one of them? And you can't save everyone. And I gave my family the appropriate warnings, and they can do what they feel is necessary with that information. And I didn't think they were being as cautious as they should have been. But I did what I could do. It's just still an unsettling feeling. It's not something a person should have to sit and worry about day in and day out because some wacko keeps getting sprung loose when he belongs in a fucking cage. He is exactly where he belongs right now. There's no other appropriate setting for Luke Winke. There's no place for him in the free world. He's proven that time and time again. And I think it's a fucking pipe dream to think, oh, if he just gets the help he needs, the only way that'll ever work is in a forced institutionalized setting. He's never going to cooperate with outpatient care, mandated therapy. He's done all that. He has never agreed to take medication. They pushed it. He wouldn't do it. And he kept saying he would do it, but then he didn't do it. Do you think someone like that who thinks nothing's wrong with him and that they're the victim and that the rest of the world is the problem, do you think that person's going to have an aha moment and think, oh, I'm doing so much better on these meds that deprive me of my perceived creativity and energy and all the things about that high that he seems to enjoy? I don't know if it's manic, I'm not a psychologist, but he enjoys his symptoms, I think, at least some of the time. And I don't think he would be willing to take a pill or anything that would counter that. I think he'd feel like a zombie, he'd feel miserable, and if it made him gain weight, he would definitely not take it because he's very concerned about his figure. As anyone who has been picked on him for their body size would know, myself included. He thinks, a couple extra pounds is just like the devil. Oh my God, you terrible person. So all that considered, what would he get out of taking a medication other than Society might benefit because he's acts a little more normal, but he's not having fun. He's not going to feel better. I really don't think that he will ever wake up and be like, "Oh, time to take my I don't know, Thorazine," you know? I don't think he'll ever be that person. I think he'll only ever very begrudgingly, if at all, take medication. I think the only way they'll ever medicate him is by force. So I'm just praying that this time the people overseeing his legal matters start to understand. This is not someone you can just trust to follow the rules and live by societal norms. Nothing like that. And when I say that, I don't mean like an eccentric person. Yeah, do what you want, be weird, that's fine. Our society can tolerate that. When I say not follow societal norms, I mean he does things that are plain old unacceptable in a civilized world. He's been given so many chances to stop being that way. He knows what he has to do. It's laid out clear for him. He doesn't forget, he doesn't get confused, he doesn't misunderstand. He's crazy, he's not completely gone. And I think that if the court doesn't hold him criminally responsible this time and they try to go the treatment route and waste a bet on him that could go to someone who really wants to turn their life around, we're all going to be sorry. Like, this is not going to end well unless they keep him locked up for as long as humanly possible. I'm not surprised that they're probably already trying to talk plea agreements because that's just what happens in our trash plea bargaining system. Like, that's why he's never been held accountable for violating the court's ban against contacting me because he pleaded guilty to something totally unrelated to me and they dropped the charge for contacting me. That's just what happens. I hope he doesn't take a plea deal. I hope he insists on taking it to trial. And I will so attend that spectacle. That is one situation where I actually might show up at the courtroom. And I kind of do hope that he insists on taking it to trial because if he takes it to trial and loses, he'll face most likely heavier consequences than if he pleads out. And that's what I think he needs. I don't think he'll ever learn. I don't think he'll ever turn his behavior around. I don't think there's any hope for him. I grieved him a long time ago, just like someone had died when I accepted that my friend was gone forever. And that he might have never really been a good friend to me in the first place because he was cyber stalking me that whole time, watching me be distraught over it and leaning on him as a friend for support, seeing the toll it was taking on my mental health. And he had a front seat to that and he relished it and he kept harassing me from these fake usernames. I realized later on it was him and he admitted to it. That's sick. That's twisted. But it's not so sick that he's doing it because he thinks, like, I don't know, he's not full blown gone. I think that's really important for people to consider. You're allowed to disagree with me, of course. Everyone has a right to their opinion. But I think if we keep treating Luke Winke like he doesn't know any better and like he shouldn't be punished, this is only going to get so much worse and so much more dangerous. And I think part of taking that stand is attend the court hearing. I will share any and all information that I find about how to do it, but I really do encourage it. I don't want to be the only one there. I mean, I will. And I'm also a little hard of hearing. So if there's someone in there that, God forbid I can't fully hear what's going on, that would be really helpful and appreciated. Because I'm not counting on the court to have anything, to accommodate people with shitty hearing like myself. Maybe they do. I don't know. So this document, anyways, goes on to say after considering any applicable presumption, the nature and circumstances of the defendant's alleged conduct, defendant's history and characteristics, the other factors, blah, blah, blah. The information. Okay, I'm going to skip the rest of that. The government has proven by clear and convincing evidence that no condition or combination of conditions of release will reasonably assure the safety of any other person in the community. This isn't the first time that Luke Winke has been remanded on this exact basis, which makes it even crazier that when he got out of prison, they just put him out there with no supervision, nothing. Of course, he ended up back in jail 2 months later. Like, thank God he did, because imagine what he might have done by now if he hadn't been arrested a month ago. I think I might be dead in that case. Like he was threatening to come to my family's property. He was threatening to hunt me down and end me. He was threatening to kick my ass. He was threatening to drag me along the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Other things, they're like, I'm not going to go through the whole list because it's long, but he was actively threatening my life and no one was doing anything about it. I was telling the cops, I was telling the feds. State cops told me to go to the feds. Feds told me to go to the state cop. Like, no one wanted to fucking deal with it because I'm not a judge. I'm not a high profile attorney. They don't seem to care about regular people. I hope they do. I hope they prove me wrong. The offense charges a crime of violence, a federal crime of terrorism, or involves a minor victim or controlled substance, firearm, explosive, or destructive device. The weight of evidence against the defendant is strong. Subject to a lengthy period of incarceration if convicted. Oh, I pray. History of alcohol or substance abuse. Prior criminal history. Good, they're no longer treating him as a first time offender. It's about fucking time. Prior violations of probation, parole, or supervised release. Yeah, he was convicted of 2 out of 7 charges because of plea out system. Oh, plea bargaining. Admit to this one, we'll forget the rest. Because fuck those people and fuck the shit you did to them. Sorry, excuse me. Participation in criminal activity while on probation, parole, or supervision. Okay, sounds like they're starting to get it. Defendant's release poses a serious danger to any person or the community. Well, yeah. Cool, they're catching on. The court considered the following documents: the criminal complaint, pretrial services report, which I don't believe the public has access to, defendant's letter and bail report, memos from probation officer, the victim, let's see, some documents from his past case, which if you want to see them, let me know. I can just send them to you. If you ever have trouble finding something, there's a lot of documents, but I have it memorized pretty well. And you don't want to go through everything on the website. Just tell me what you're looking for, and if I can help you, I'll just send it to you. The court notes the charged offense is alleged to have been committed the day after his term of supervision was completed, that the charged offense is similar, if not identical, to the facts underlying the 2022 conviction, that he previously violated conditions of supervised release in this court and committed the prior offense while on pretrial diversion in a state court proceeding. Indiana. Yeah, and that's funny because Luke was arrested in Indiana, Elkhart County, Indiana, and I want to say 2019. I have the papers. I'll put them up eventually. It was misdemeanor stuff. He was falling asleep at the wheel, which he used to do all the time. Like, I don't know how he's alive. He's wrecked like a million cars. He drives fucked up. He drives tired. But assholes live forever, apparently. He's fucking immortal. But he was arrested in Indiana. And that case was, I mean, I believe it's technically still ongoing because he was given pretrial diversion, and I believe he violated that with his federal stuff. But with his violation of supervised release, the federal probation violations. So, what was I going to say about Indiana? Yeah, during the tail end of the proceedings last year to institutionalize Luke Wenke, or actually after, he had been ordered to undergo forced mental health care at an inpatient facility, aka a medical prison. His appeal attorney, because he challenged the decision, wrote in a document that Winky had never been arrested prior to his federal case, and that's a huge untruth. If he was referencing felony arrests, maybe that's the case, but he just wrote Winky had never been arrested before his federal arrest. That's not even close to true. And it's just crazy that someone will write that in an appeal and be wrong about it and miss that fact to the point where they go and submit that document and it gets that far in the process. I'm not sitting here trying to challenge a lawyer's integrity or act like I know the law, but I know that that's not true, that he had been arrested before his federal case. And like, how could you even assert that he hadn't been? Like, the court already knew about the Indiana case years ago, but okay. The court also notes that given the nature of the charged offense in the prior conviction, defendant cited frustrations and triggers, his prior failures to comply with release conditions, and his immediate resort to the same pattern of behavior for which he was previously convicted. After supervision concluded, there's no condition or combination of conditions that would reasonably mitigate the danger he poses to any individual, potential witness, or the community. Having found that the defendant presents a risk of danger to the community, the court must determine whether, despite this risk and/or danger, there's any condition or combination of conditions that could reasonably ensure defendant's return to the court and/or the safety of the community. As noted above and on the record, the court has carefully considered the alternatives to detention, but given the findings set forth above, concludes that none of these alternatives are appropriate or will reasonably ensure the defendant's return to court and/or the safety of the community. So I don't think they're really worried about him showing up to court as much as they're about him popping off and doing something crazy, which makes sense. So Winky is in custody without bail. I don't think at this point they would impose bail because that decision already has been made not to impose bail. I don't know for sure. but I'm taking it as a good sign that he will remain in custody and will, at the very least, get a little vacation from him. I have not seen any of his crazy letters showing up in the court files, but I also think that if he is writing letters to the previous judge from his last case, they might not be putting him on Pacer because that might be evidence at this point, since the judge is, I believe, the victim in that case, in the new case. I got a letter from his mom last week, well, almost 2 weeks ago now, because I blocked his jail calls. I rejected the letter from his mom. It was certified. I said, take that shit back. I don't want it. I don't want to know what it says. Don't bring it to my house. Take it back to where it came from. And I know that she's probably fuming. He's definitely fuming. And this isn't the end. And that's when people just block him. No, he trust me, something else is gonna happen now. And I always get scared that every wall I put up, they gotta do something more extreme to get past it. What is going to happen next? That is where I'm starting to worry for my safety, because you meet some crazy people in jail, but also, without going into detail, I know that him and the foot soldier know some pretty crazy people on the outside. They're not necessarily powerful people, but they're crazy. They're not exactly law-abiding folk, from what I can tell at least. It's like, what's gonna happen? And people say, "Oh, just get a weapon." Yeah, no, we're in New York. You can't just do that when you feel like you're in danger. Not in New York State. You can't. They say you can, but you can't. I just hope that I get out of here and that he gets some serious time. This is not someone who should be cut any sort of plea deal or any sort of break. And I understand that court caseloads are huge, but this is a really niche case because he's not your average criminal and he's not your average repeat offender. And while he's not doing anything like physically violent, the only reason I don't think he has is because they've stopped him every time. But it's like a punishment that he hasn't, because then they're like, oh, we can only put him away for so long or impose such a harsh punishment, which is like a slap on the wrist. I'm hoping that he can really face some time for this, even if I'm kind of insulted that they only care that it was a judge and that they don't care that he was threatening my life, and that they seem to think that just because I made a website that Luke Wenke can somehow just get away with threatening to kill me over and over. Like they're literally letting him do that. But at this point, I just want to see him put away. I do think there is a time and a place for saying you need to start caring about someone other than these so-called important people. And don't get me wrong, his victims are all valid victims. I'm not trying to take that away. And I'm not saying that they don't deserve justice. They absolutely do, but so do the rest of us. Well,